Flying feels automatic now. You check in, shuffle through security, find your seat, buckle up, and zone out to the hum of the engines. It's so ordinary that most of us forget how extraordinary it actually is. A few hundred people sealed inside a metal tube, shooting through the sky at 900 kilometers an hour. Everything seems calm, controlled, predictable, but hidden behind the captain's steady voice and the flight attendant's calm smiles is another side of air travel. A side full of secrets. These are the things you were never meant to think about. The rules that keep everything running quietly. The little systems working behind the curtain to make flying feel effortless, even when it's not. The germest place on the plane. Everyone assumes the dirtiest part of the aircraft is the bathroom, but it's not even close. The filthiest thing on board is the tray table right in front of you. Multiple studies found that those little fold-out trays hold 10 times more bacteria than the toilet flush button. Why? Because toilets, ironically, get cleaned. Tray tables usually don't. Flight crews have minutes to turn a plane around between flights. They collect trash, refill snacks, and wipe obvious spills. But there's no deep scrub between every journey. Meanwhile, passengers use those tables for everything: eating, sleeping, changing diapers. So before you unwrap that sandwich or rest your arms, take a second to wipe it down. That tiny step might save you a week of regret later. The truth about in-flight coffee. When a flight attendant offers you coffee or tea, it feels harmless. But what's really in that cup might surprise you. The hot water isn't poured from a bottle. It's pumped from the plane's onboard water tanks. And those tanks aren't exactly sterile. They're cleaned occasionally, but not between every flight. Over the years, multiple tests have found traces of E. coli and other bacteria lingering in those systems. Ask any veteran flight attendant, and they'll tell you the same thing. They don't drink the tap water, not even for tea. Major airlines tend to use bottled water in premium cabins, but low-cost carriers often rely on tank water. If you're particular about what you drink, bring your own sealed bottle or fill up after security. The view from 35,000 feet might be clean, the water, not so much. Why the lights dim before takeoff? It feels like a mood-setting detail, but it's actually survival psychology. When the cabin lights dim before takeoff or landing, it's not to relax you, it's to prepare you. If something goes wrong and you need to evacuate, your eyes are already adjusted to outside light. Whether it's the dead of night or the glare of midday, you'll be able to see, think, and move faster. It's one of those small safety tricks that passengers barely notice, but could make the difference between confusion and clarity in an emergency. Why they tell you to stow everything. Tray tables up, seats forward, window shades open. You've heard it 100 times, but it's not for aesthetics. Trays block your path if you need to escape quickly. Seat backs create obstacles for the person behind you. And those window shades, they're your eyes. If something goes wrong outside, a fire, debris, damage, passengers and crew need to see it instantly. Every rule on a plane is written in someone else's blood. Behind each small instruction lies a story that didn't end well. Airplane mode still matters. Most people ignore the "please switch your phone to airplane mode" announcement. It seems outdated, harmless, but there's a reason it still exists. When hundreds of phones are all trying to find a signal mid-air, they create interference. Tiny bursts of static that bleed into the pilot's headsets and cockpit radios. It's not going to crash the plane, but at the wrong moment, that interference could disrupt critical communication. So the next time you're tempted to sneak in one more text, remember, it's not superstition. It's about reducing the number of small problems that could turn big. The little hole in the window. If you've ever stared out the window and spotted a tiny hole near the bottom, relax. It's supposed to be there. It's called a bleed hole, and it regulates air pressure between the inner and outer layers of glass while preventing fogging or cracking. Without that hole, the window could burst from the pressure difference at altitude. So next time you press your forehead against that glass and watch the clouds drift by, remember, that little hole is one of the unsung heroes keeping you safe. What's actually in the air you're breathing? That cool, refreshing air you feel from the vent above your head isn't exactly fresh. It's a mix, half from outside, half recycled from inside. Airlines filter the cabin atmosphere through HEPA systems that trap 99.97% of bacteria and viruses, but that still means you're breathing air that's already been through hundreds of lungs. Every cough, sneeze, and breath gets mixed back into the system. It's cleaner than it used to be, but not spotless. Studies show that contagious illnesses can still spread on board, especially in packed cabins. The takeaway? Adjust your vent, carry wipes, and maybe keep a mask handy, because shared air is very literal up here. The oxygen mask truth. You know the drill. In the event of cabin depressurization, oxygen masks will drop. But here's what they don't mention. Those masks only supply about 12 to 15 minutes of oxygen. Sounds terrifying, but that's all you need. If the cabin loses pressure, the pilot immediately dives the plane to a safe altitude, below 10,000 feet, where you can breathe normally again. That descent takes just a few minutes. What really matters is how quickly you put that mask on. You have about 20 seconds before hypoxia, oxygen deprivation, starts shutting you down. Don't look around. Don't film it. Just breathe. The pilot might be asleep. On purpose. It's one of aviation's best-kept secrets. Sometimes your pilot is napping mid-flight, and that's exactly what they're supposed to do. It's called controlled rest. On long-haul flights, one pilot rests while the other monitors systems. Fatigue is dangerous, and short naps improve alertness and decision-making. On ultra-long routes, airlines even schedule backup pilots to rotate. The scary part? Sometimes fatigue wins. In 2024, both pilots on an Indonesian flight accidentally fell asleep for 28 minutes. The plane drifted off course, but autopilot kept it stable until one woke up. It ended safely, but it proves how razor-thin the balance of trust really is. The lavatory lock. Think that tiny bathroom at 35,000 feet gives you total privacy? Think again. Every airplane lavatory comes with a built-in override. Hidden just behind the lavatory sign is a small latch that lets flight attendants unlock the door from the outside in seconds. They're trained to do it smoothly and discreetly. Lift the metal flap, slide the catch, and click near the door pops open. It's not about invading your space or catching anyone off guard. It's about safety. If a passenger faints, has a medical emergency, locks themselves in during turbulence, or worse, tries to tamper with equipment, the crew can't afford to waste time. That simple hidden mechanism can literally save a life. So the next time you head in to freshen up, rehearse a presentation, or escape crying toddlers for a few quiet minutes, remember, you're never completely sealed off. Somewhere outside that door, someone has the master key, just in case. Where you sit might matter. If safety is your priority, the tail section statistically gives you slightly higher odds of survival in a crash. Studies show passengers seated near the rear are more likely to survive than those in front. Planes almost never hit tail first. That said, comfort and turbulence are another story. The ride is smoother near the wings, bumpier at the back. So choose your side, comfort or odds, but know the trade-off. Lightning strikes are normal. Lightning hitting a plane sounds terrifying, but it happens more often than you think, roughly once a year per aircraft. Modern planes are built like giant conductors. Electricity travels along the outer shell and exits safely without touching the cabin. You might see a flash, maybe hear a soft pop, but you'll never feel a thing. It's a show of nature you'll likely never even notice. The overbooking game. If you've ever been told your flight is overbooked, it's not a glitch in the system. It's the system working exactly as designed. Airlines overbook flights on purpose. They sell more tickets than there are seats, calculating that a few passengers will cancel or miss their connection. It's a numbers game driven by algorithms. They track historical data on no-shows, weather disruptions, and even the day of the week to predict how many people actually board. If the math holds, the flight leaves full, maximizing revenue. But when the math fails, when everyone shows up, that's when chaos begins. Gate agents start offering vouchers, meal credits, or upgrades to volunteers willing to take a later flight. It's a polite negotiation at first, but when no one steps forward, someone gets bumped against their will. The most infamous example happened in 2017 when Dr. David Dow, a 69-year-old passenger on a United Express flight, was forcibly dragged off the plane after refusing to surrender his seat for a crew transfer. The shocking video went viral. The airline stock dropped nearly $1 billion overnight, and the CEO had to publicly apologize. The backlash forced sweeping changes. Airlines can no longer remove seated passengers due to overbooking, and compensation caps for volunteers were raised dramatically. Still, the overbooking game hasn't vanished. It's just shifted. The battle now happens before you board, quietly at the gate. And as long as empty seats cost airlines money, they'll keep playing the odds, betting that just enough of us won't show up. When someone dies mid-flight, it's grim but real. Sometimes a passenger dies on board. It's rare, roughly 1 death per 3 million flyers. But it happens. If it does, the plane usually doesn't divert. The crew quietly follows a respectful protocol. They check vitals, notify the captain, and if death is confirmed, move the body to an empty row or cover it discreetly. Lights are dimmed, curtains drawn, and the flight continues. There's no freezer or special compartment, just calm professionalism until landing. You'd probably never even notice it happened. Flying seems so ordinary, but every small detail, every switch, smile, and safety demo hides a story. It's a world of quiet precision and constant risk, built to appear simple so you never have to think about it. So next time you fasten your seatbelt and stare out the window, remember, the miracle isn't just that you're flying. It's that so many invisible systems are working in perfect harmony to make it feel effortless. If you learned something new today, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment on the fact that surprised you the most. Because the next time you step on a plane, you'll see it the way insiders do. And you'll never fly quite the same way again.